Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back. Power's out at my house, so that's real awesome. Today, I'm gonna take that turd into Brock. We're gonna get the rear wheel cylinder fixed. It is pissing brake fluid out of there. And then, because you would, in order to change the gears out, which is something I've wanted to do since I put the big tires and lift on, you have to remove the drums to pull the axles out. That's a requirement. And since the drum is going to be pulled off in order to fix the brake cylinder, I bought gears. I said in a couple of videos that we've done this. The truck's been down for probably over a month at this point, waiting to get in there. So I'm gonna drive that to his shop and hope that I don't die, because I have had the brake pedal go to the floor a couple times. Probably not the smartest move, but it's what we're gonna do. I do have extra brake fluid with me. I topped it off, and I have a vice grip, and if it gets bad, I'll pinch that rear line with the vice grip and we'll just go from there. But it rained yesterday, so my road's probably going to be muddy, so I should probably take it to the car wash after I get off the gravel roads and hose the bottom of it off so I don't take it to him all filthy. But the real reason we're going to do this video today is I got some lights for the van. Fingers crossed they work out how I want them to. I'm going to have to cut the wires and wire them together. But let's get this truck dropped off because he's going to need it for a few days. And we'll get back here and get to working on the van. All right. Let's hope this goes along with no hiccups. It's been a while since I've driven this thing. I had it on the battery charger though. Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. I should be able to know pretty dang quickly. I need to put that vice grip on there. Had it not rained, I could take gravel basically 90% to his place, his shop in Lincoln, but with as much rain as we've got, I know the roads are going to be bad. We're just going to take it slow and definitely not get on the interstate. It feels good to drive this thing though. It's way more powerful than the van, and it's going to be so much better with the new gears in it. We're going from 373s to 456s, which some of you guys were like, oh my god, you're going to be at 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs on the highway. Not even close. Which way do I want to go? We're just going to go straight. So I am going to go to the car wash. I guess once we get out on the highway, I'll be able to tell you what the speeds are as far as my gearing is. But 456s should basically put it back to where it was at stock with the stock size tire. Pretty dang close. I think probably on the interstate right now at like 80 miles an hour, I'm at like 2,000 RPM. So it's not like it's low really. And with these gears, I should be less than 3,000, but we'll find out. All right, we're going good so far. I stopped at the car wash, got this thing cleaned up. Mostly it was just to get the bottom done, and it's looking a lot better, but we're on a road now where the speed limit is 65 miles an hour, so we can check what 60 and 70 is. All right, I'm at 60, and I am at, well, torque converter hasn't locked up yet. There we go. Right at 1,600 RPM. If you can see that. So we'll get her up to 70 here. Basically, the way this thing is tuned right now, the way Brock has got it set up, it doesn't even shift into fourth until like 55 miles an hour anyways. Because just the gearing is so improper for 35s with the 4-speed on the 4L60. Man, that was a nice Corvette. All right, we're at 70. Make sure that torque converter, I don't know if it's even locked up, honestly. But at 70, we're at like 1,800 RPM. So we'll probably be right at like, I don't know what the difference is going to be exactly. Oh, there's a red light on this road. They're doing construction. I'm guessing I'll be at like 2,200 at 70. So maybe I was at 2,280. Not sure, but I tend to avoid the interstate at all costs anyways, so I'm not super concerned with that. Around here in Nebraska, yeah, like pretty much everything is 65 miles an hour on 2-lane highways for 90% of it. So most people do 70, but I got no problem going 65 either. So we'll just see what happens, but I'll see you guys when we get to the shop, or if I die in this thing because the brakes blow out completely. But all right, keys have been dropped off. I don't know how long exactly this is going to take. Brock is a busy man, but the wife's here to pick me up. Make sure my other keys are in my pocket. Lock this back window up. But we may come back and get some shots of doing some of this stuff. We'll see if he's got time for it, but we're here. All right, let's get back to the house, get started on the van. All right, y'all, so it's the next day, and I've got these lights here. So these are Ashland brand LED rope lights. I guess that's the Spanish side. These are, they're multicolored, and they've got a remote. They're USB powered, so they'll work great with what I've got, and like they'll flash and they'll do all this stuff. I've got two of these strips. Oh, two strips here. So we'll put one on each side of the van. We'll hop in there and I'll show you what I'm gonna do. It's a little dark in there, which is why we're doing this. And then I also picked up a couple of these 12-foot USB extension cords, and I had kind of envisioned doing this a little bit differently from the start. But let's go ahead and hop in the van and I'll kind of get one of these undone. We'll plug them in, I'll show them to you, and I'll explain how we're gonna do this. It's gonna be very simple, at least it should be, in theory, and it should look really, really cool. So let's see what these things look like. All right, we've got our battery box. Let's go ahead and pop one of these open, and I'll turn it on before we get to lighting it up. You guys can see what this is all about. So it comes with like two-sided tape, so you can stick it on the back of here, but here we go. They're pretty decent lights. I think each one of these strips was like $14, so not terribly expensive. And I had picked one of these up a while ago, but it was 16.5 foot long, because I thought I was gonna be able to bend it around what I'm doing here. So if you can see that, there's the light strip, and it's just like an LED strip with like a rubber tube on the end. But the way that I was gonna put them up there, you know, they're gonna sit up there like that, so the LED strip, and I thought bendy, you know, I could just run them around the whole top of it, but they only really bend this way. They don't bend the other way, and that's how they would have needed to bend. But all it has is a USB plug on the end, and there's a remote sensor in here. There is an on and off button, but that's all it is. And these should tuck up in there really nicely. Let's plug these things on in, and I'll show them to you guys. See what I'm doing yet? Power box on here. So there it is in red, and it's super cool looking. Like, you don't see the individual LEDs, which is really nice. The only bummer part that I've noticed, because I played with one of these strips a little bit, is that every time you turn it on, it automatically defaults to red, which I think is really weird. But it is what it is. You get this remote here with like multi-functions on it. So we'll go ahead and change it to white, which is what we'll be using in the van 90% of the time. And they are dimmable, so there's white, like full brightness right there, and you can dim it down quite a bit, turn it back up. But the real reason I wanted these in multicolor is that the whole interior of the van is blue. I can change it to blue and it'll look really cool in there. Then you can do like that mode. slow it down a little bit, like strobe it, but it only strobes in red, which is really weird. And then there's like a fade function which goes through all the colors, and that's really about it. But you can do a bunch of different colors on here, some different shades of blue. You got green and like magenta, a little bit different purple, red, you know, multicolors. But inside the van here, we're pretty much just going to use the white and the blue. And then you can shut them off. So what I had originally planned to do was cut this and wire them both together, because I didn't want to have two things that I had to use two remotes on. And then I had this dumb epiphany, and I was like, well, the remote will probably work on both of them. So if you have them both plugged in, you just have to hit the one remote and it'll turn them both on. Now, like I said, it'll turn on to red, which I think is really weird, but I'm going to, instead of cutting and wiring them together, I'm gonna leave them as is for now, so I can individually run one on either side. And the reason for that is, if I'm sitting on the bed, like laid back on the bed, and I have a movie going, I wanted to be able to shut the strip off that's in front of me, and then I could just have the strip off that's behind me, providing some soft glow, and see the TV or whatever and have some light in there without having that light on in front of me. I think that's gonna work a lot better than having them wired together, because then you would only be able to turn them both on and off at the same time. And I know in the truck, people have commented in the past, because I have those LED light pods, that when I'm filming, although I do film a little bit differently in here, it would have been nice if I could have turned the lights off that are behind me and just have the lights on in front of me. So that's why I'm gonna leave them up individually, and we'll just run both wires down. Ideally, I need to get like a splitter so I can have them both going into one plug, but there are multiple USB outlets on this thing, so I can just plug them both in, or I could use this box or my ISOL power box, plug it into this 12-volt plug, and then put a little splitter right there, and that would work fine also. But let's go ahead, and I'll kind of shove one of these up there, and I'll show you how they're gonna fit in here. It's gonna look really cool. And then we'll get them both in there, and we'll get our wires hidden, and it should look really nice in here. You guys have been asking for lights for forever, and I've had this van for, what, 2 years now at least, and I haven't put any lights up, so this should be nice. So I had to break out one of my filming lights just to get enough light in here, but it's gonna tuck right in to this gap here, so this whole thing is removable, and like your seat belt and stuff came out of there. You do have some AC vents in there because this does have rear AC, but the whole light just kind of pinches right in here. I think it'll stay up there without actually having to like tape it in, because I don't want to put any tape on here. Velcro isn't going to stick to this, but we'll find out. I might end up putting a couple pieces of double-sided tape in there, but basically it'll run this whole strip on this side, and then the same thing on this strip behind me. So let me kind of shove one up there, and that should be all we really need to do to show it to you guys. The USB outlet portion will go to the rear, because I'll be able to run them down and then have my power box kind of down here by the bed. And it's got this little cap on the end here. Can you guys see where we're at? Yep. So we'll take this, actually let me put this camera in wide mode. There we go, now you can see the whole thing. But it just tucks right up in here. You can kind of shove it in this little gap. Like I said, I think this will stay up here just fine. And we might try it without putting any tape on there. But I think maybe if I put a piece of tape like on the ends and one in the middle, that's what we'll go with at that point. But like I said, I really think this will just stick in here without any issue. It would be really nice to do this without any like cutting and splicing of wires. So go. We got the strip stuck up in there. I've got a little battery pack. I'll go ahead and plug it in and turn them on for you guys, and you can see how cool this is gonna look. Let me grab that. All right. Check. Oh, it actually turned on to blue this time. I thought it was always gonna turn on to red, but that's pretty sweet. And then we've got white. It's gonna look really nice. Like, this looks a lot more like what the van would have kind of come with for mood lighting. I hope this is gonna be bright enough to film with. I may have to still like hang a direct light up or install something else, but this has just got a really cool vibe to it. And yeah, having the blue in here is gonna be really neat. So that one is stuck up there. We're just gonna leave that. I'm gonna go ahead and stick the other one up, and we'll see how we can hide these wires. All right. Let's go ahead and get both of these plugged in. And I guess this will kind of be the test on the brightness of them. I'll shut that other light off and we'll see if it's actually going to be bright enough to film with. The wiring will all tuck in. You won't be able to see any of this. Yeah, see, that one goes to... Can you see that? Let's shut this camera off. Shut this off. Oh God, that looks so cool. Such a vibe in here. All right, let's go to white. I think, although I have that window open, I usually use a different camera in here that has a little bit better nighttime shots. This is neat, dude. We got a dang old party up in here. And yeah, I don't even really have to have the remote pointed at it, dude, which is nice. You can go off and on. But see, now they come back on red, which I think is really weird. But then if I want to, I think individually, oh no, it's still doing them both at the same time, which is kind of nice, but I can, bam, shut it off. Maybe not. Dim them way down. Huh. I figured. Yeah, I can shut it off individually, but yeah, that'll be nice to be able to have one on and one off. Either way, dude, that looks really rad, and they fit in there nicely, and I didn't need to go do any kind of cutting. All right, I want to try it on my other camera first, but let's see how we can get these wires tucked. Can you guys see the whole strip? Pretty much. There, we go back to the linear without any of the fisheye, but I always film in wide mode in here. That is neat, dude. Just perfect lighting. And I love the neon effect of it. All right, I need to get these wires tucked. I'm stoked on this. All right, I've got it all wired up in here. So I'll show you the back here. So you can see that, not like, that sensor has to go somewhere for me to be able to hit it. So the wire is tucked up under here, and then you've got the sensor there. I could probably get that in a little bit better, but the wire goes down the whole window frame on both sides. It's stuck inside of the window frame, and then goes under the bed. and they come out right here. So I've got both plugs there. You just like stick this light up somewhere. That works. No, come on now. So you can see I definitely needed some lighting in here. But I typically have both my battery boxes under here. Well, you can see the ISOL power box there. And then this one usually sits under there. Got our remote. So let's get these guys plugged in. I've got my fan sitting right there. So let's just pull that out so it's not in our way right now. Probably run these wires back behind that. And there we go. Nice lighting in here. And guess the test of the remote will be is, will it work from here without... Yup. Got white. We've got blue. Dude, I'm stoked on this. These look super cool in here. And like, you could just drive around with them on like that. I am digging these things. Love the blue light. All right, this, I switched to the camera that's a little bit better in the dark. This is what I usually use in here. I'm gonna get this light shut off and we'll see what it kind of looks like. My garage isn't super dark, but it also isn't super bright in here. So that's on blue. Dude, I love it. And there's white. That's a decent amount of light. I'm guessing if I'm filming in here, I'm probably still gonna have to have a little light in the front, but that illuminates everything behind me a whole lot nicer. Super stoked on how these looked. And yeah, we can just have a party in here. Oh, and see, I can do them individually. Sometimes it wants to do them both at the same time, sometimes it doesn't. But you could dim them way down just to get a vibe in here. Even with the colors, you can dim them way down. Like, it's definitely brighter in here than it is on the camera. But I love the blue. Like, I'm gonna want to drive around at night just with the blue lights on in here, just because I think it looks cool. Because you'll definitely be able to see them from the outside also. But there's the white, dude. That's not bad for being in here. And the camera is a little bit farther away than I usually have it when I'm filming. Like, usually we're chilling like this. Although I don't have it in the ultra wide mode. That is about perfect, man. Love the blue vibe in here. And then when it's darker outside, it'll look a little nicer. But hopefully these look all right on the camera. I did mention when we were talking about this on one of the live streams, maybe a couple months back, some of these LED lights don't match. They technically kind of flicker as they're operating. It's usually not visible to the naked eye. But sometimes the frame rate of the camera that you're using can see that. So hopefully these work all right. Either way, I'm stoked on them. Like I said, I don't think these will fall out of here. For now, instead of like trying to stick anything onto the ceiling, I'm going to leave them as they are. We'll find out how well they work. And right now, you know, if it does pop out, I can just shove it back in there. It's not a big deal if I'm driving around. But for now, I'm going to leave them as they are and just enjoy. Just enjoy it, dude. It's like the perfect mood light. And I love the blue because everything in here is blue. But yeah, stoked on the lights. Should have done this a while ago, but it took me a while to find exactly what I wanted. I didn't want the LED strips where you could see all the individual lights. I didn't think that would look as nice. This looks like I've got neon tubes on the ceiling, and it's perfect. And they were cheap lights I found. I bought those at a local craft store called Michael's. So super stoked on this. They should work out well, and they should last a long time. But for now, I think it's time to just get this thing loaded up and take it out to do some camping. So, as always, stay tuned for the next adventure. I'll see you in a bit. Party mode. All right, see you guys later.